All right, so I thought I'd start out quickly with two things. I'm the only guy tonight to bring stress balls, so I thought we'd play two truths and a lie about OnDeck, not about me, because that would be embarrassing. But these are based on feedback I get at various trade shows. So, someone brave, which one is the lie? Back there. Nice, and you get a stress ball. You ready? No, it didn't even move. That was unimpressive. Okay, I had to give at least one more stress ball for the person who was brave enough to say that their motivation for starting their business was proving their wife wrong. So who knows the answer to that question? It can't be Justin, by the way. Yeah, there you go. Epically bad. So the two truths about OnDeck is that we are in fact a leader in online small business lending since 2006, and we've lent in fact over $6 billion in that time in market across Canada, the US, and most recently Australia. And that's all we've ever been, is about small business lending. So very focused on that particular space. It's an online platform that really combines, in my opinion, the best of human intervention and an algorithmic-based approach to scoring the risk of a business. So I'll talk a little bit more about that as we continue. And in Canada here, so I kind of view myself, I feel lucky to be on stage with these other co-founders. I'm not a co-founder of this business. I'm helping to start this business up here in Canada. But here in this market, since 2014, we've delivered about $100 million to small businesses, which I'm very proud of and excited about. And I think what's important about that, for me at least, is the impact that that's having. So in the US, we did an impact study that showed that of the first $3 billion that we delivered, there was about an $11 billion economic impact from that money. So 74,000 direct jobs that we could tie into small businesses taking capital from OnDeck. So very quickly, this is the business. There's a lot of information on this slide. Across the top, you can see some of the hard cuts in our model. Time in business, we lend to businesses that have been around for at least a year. Personal credit of the applicant has to be over 600. Annual revenue needs to be 100,000. Those are the hard cuts in the model, but you can see different use cases here for the money that OnDeck is lending. So we're lending to people like caterers in London who've been in business almost 10 years with just under $1 million in revenue. They're taking a $20,000 term loan. We've got line of credit for a retailer in Niagara Falls, and then we've got a $75,000 term loan example here for a personal care company with about 2 years of experience in business and almost $2 million in revenue. So the takeaway from this is OnDeck is providing a range of operating capital solutions. The term ranges from 6 months to 24 months, the amount of money up to $250,000, but the biggest action that we see is in sort of the $30,000 to $50,000 range. That's where small businesses really feel the pain and have the most urgent need for operating capital. So we know from StatsCan that there's almost 1.2 million small businesses in Canada, total businesses, and almost 98% of those are small businesses. So OnDeck and lots of other companies that we've heard from today, like Lending Loop, are well positioned to impact that really important part of the economy and of Canadian innovation. So I wanted to share just quickly some stats from a survey that we did and some other surveys that I've come across from the BDC. Give us reason to be positive about 2017. One of the things we pulled from our survey was the fact that 81% of our surveyed small business owners are optimistic about business growth heading into 2017. I thought I'd quickly ask what percentage of people here, put up your hand if you're optimistic about 2017. Crushed 81%, so 90% plus here. That's great. That's great to see. Lack of cash flow, of course, is not a surprise. If the 81% was, lack of cash flow is the most frequently cited obstacle for small business growth. And that's really what OnDeck is well positioned and lots of other companies to solve for. It's interesting when I go to trade shows today. I was at the Restaurants Canada show. The restaurant vertical is a very critical one for OnDeck. I still see a high reluctance for small business owners to talk about taking debt. So it's still an uncomfortable topic. And so rather than seeing it as an investing in their future or in growth, they still often see it as a pain point. So OnDeck and, again, other companies are trying to make that that pain go away by making the application process simpler, making it easier to apply, and taking the right amount of capital for the need that is facing the business at that time. So, I was excited to see in our survey as well that that amount of capital that's required to move the needle for a lot of small businesses in Canada is not $1 million, not $100,000. It's in fact less than $50,000. So about half of the survey respondents indicated they needed less than $25,000 to really move the needle for their business. Another 27% said they needed less than 50. So more than half really indicating that 50 as a break point for the amount of operating capital that they needed to do something significant for the business. And those things would include things like equipment purchases, diversifying the business through an acquisition potentially. It could be inventory purchase, hiring, marketing, that kind of thing. So it's exciting that small amounts of money may not be small to someone who's only doing $100,000 in revenue, but relatively small amounts of money can make a meaningful difference. And this is, again, it's not a surprise. Most business owners have taken out capital for their business. Very few, of course, have done it with anyone other than a bank or a credit union. So OnDeck and companies like OnDeck are still facing a hurdle in terms of building awareness and acceptance in the market. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. We know from what we do that the most powerful part of the solution is being able to connect the data that we collect from our customers when they do an application and pull that into the application process and make sure that we're providing them with a loan offer that meets their needs. So we're not suggesting they take long-term financing, more money than they need. We're assessing the use case that they've explained to us and offering them a solution that fits that particular example. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some examples of companies that have caught my attention as providing similar kinds. I've got a couple from OnDeck, the latter two, and then the first two are obviously consumer facing and outside of OnDeck. Mint, I think, does a really fantastic job of aggregating your personal bank balances and bills and pulling your credit score into their dashboard. So you have this holistic view of everything you're looking at in your personal finance space that allows you to make better decisions potentially about what you're going to do next on that part of your life. Mogo, people may have noticed, a Vancouver-based company. It's had a lot of success in the last couple of years. Started offering a free personal credit score from Equifax. And again, they're doing an update on that every month. If you sign up and create an account with Mogo, you get that monthly credit score updated. It's a soft pull, so it doesn't hit your personal credit score. But it gives you a real sense of where you stand financially, and it allows you, again, to make better decisions about what you might want to invest in next. So a couple of examples for OnDeck. So OnDeck has a robust direct business where we market directly to end small businesses and encourage them to apply online and make an application. Chase and Wave are helping us reach to new spaces. So Chase, we're using data from their Chase bank accounts and information that they have to deliver even a more powerful solution, a more customized experience for Chase customers, integrated with OnDeck data. Wave, on the other hand, who we've just announced a partnership with and who is speaking, I think, at the next FinTechTO event, is introducing something called Lending by Wave, which will be powered largely by OnDeck technology in terms of getting money into the hands of their small business customers. So these are examples where OnDeck is taking data from outside of our world and pulling it inside of our application process to make the ultimate offer and solution even more powerful. So just in closing, I thought I would talk, as we've been in Canada, some of the things that we face here that are maybe somewhat unique to the Canadian marketplace. In the US, I think we see the market being maybe a couple of years ahead. Some people have said it's 5 years, maybe some people a year. Depends on who you ask. But there's no question that alternative lending awareness is low in Canada relative to where it is in markets like the UK and the US. So that's a huge challenge for us. Adoption, again, when you have a country like Canada that's as focused and in love with their banks as Canadians are, whether you're a customer, a personal customer, or a small business customer, it's a big challenge for a company like OnDeck, which is an online lender only. And then finally, I would call out this opportunity, I think, that exists in the Canadian market to follow some of what we're seeing in the UK and the US with a more open policy towards data. And the idea that if we can get the banks and other players to open up data, that will allow for more innovation and more better solutions for both retail customers and small businesses. So that's all I have for today. I do have more stress balls at the end if anyone wants to ask a question and I can answer it properly. I'll give you one. So thank you. How much did the market research, do you mean, help us? Yeah, that's a great question. I think I was not from the UK. We're not in the UK. We are in Australia, but still a good question. The US, I think, was helpful, but not. It's not, as with many cases, as many people in this room know, what happens in the US doesn't all translate here. So this market with an APR cap, which doesn't exist in the US, different love for banks here than there is in the US or in Australia, for example. There's no love for banks in either of those two markets. It's a much more wide open ecosystem here. It's a much tougher, it's a much stronger relationship. So we've taken great learnings from the model that we built in the US to lend. So the sector model that helps us understand strengths of different industries and risks of different industries, that has been helpful. But lots of other things are unique here. So I'll give you a stress ball.
Yeah. Hi. I was wondering, I wanted to better understand OnDeck's model. If you're a small business, what is OnDeck providing that they're not currently getting from the big banks?
Yeah, it's a good question. So what we've seen in the US, which is also true of Canada, is that largely the banks have not found it profitable to loan under, in the US, about $500,000. In Canada, it's probably a similar level. The costs at the branch level and with the different layers and levels that it has to go through for approval and the process of doing an in-person visit, all of those things make it fairly cost prohibitive for the banks to do profitable lending at that level. So OnDeck is a pure online application process. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes to apply for a loan. Everything you submit is online, so you're scanning bank statements potentially, and I mentioned the opportunity for data as an example. There's companies in the US like Yodlee, which have high degrees of penetration there that really are non-existent in Canada to any great degree. If we had more of that Yodlee type of service here, it would facilitate more ease of application of different kinds of solutions or different kinds of lending options, et cetera. So OnDeck is solving first for the time of making an application. So you turn maybe what was a 2 or 3 day process of building a presentation and a business plan, taking that to the bank into 20 minutes. And then our promise is to make a decision within an hour. We'll fund as soon as same day or next day. So it's the speed of funding. So all of that, full transparency, doesn't come for free. It does come at a cost. So there is definitely a cost to that kind of lending, but that's all built into the model. And so we service that segment that may or may not be served by a bank or may have an urgency to the financing need that cannot be met any other way. At the back. So yes, in fact, the question was, do we do any business financial analysis other than the personal credit score, where we say the 600 is the cutoff at the front end of the application? That's it for personal analysis. So unlike a bank that would look a lot at your personal assets, would look at securing the loan through some sort of physical asset, equipment, or real estate or something, OnDeck only looks at the business performance. So we look at your bank account, your business bank account. We look at your cash flow, those kinds of things that are only relevant to the business itself. And the algorithm and the way that we analyze that data allows us to make loans that banks wouldn't make in those situations.
Over here.
One more question over here.
So it seems like part of your, I guess, call it OnDeck strategy is partnering with other kind of fintech solution providers like Wave and Chase. So just wanted to kind of get your kind of POV on how do you see that as like this kind of open platform of improving the customer experience? Yeah, well, we know that the more data we have, and not all data is equal, but generally speaking, more data is better for making a more informed decision about what the needs of that customer might be, and for us understanding the risk that customer presents to us. So one thing I've learned as a non-finance person coming to OnDeck is it's really great to find someone to lend money to, but it's actually just as important to get them to pay you back.
See, everyone else knew that already. I didn't know that, but so that's true. So the more data we have, the further back it goes. And when you apply online right now with OnDeck, we're really looking only back about 3 months at your business transaction, business history. If we partner with Wave and some of the bank partners we have in the US, we're able to look much further back. We can go back 12, 24 months and get a much more, much longer history of that customer.
Can I,
He handed the microphone to
Mr. Norman, can I ask a question, please? Why would you not people lend money from the small business loans where the risk is only 25% on the loan? Or there is bank financing for entrepreneurs, small entrepreneurs up to $25,000 to get them involved. Why would they come to you when they can lend and if their only risk is 25% of the loan?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I would, if they knew that, if they had that information, they may not.
Well, do you provide them that service?
We're not in that business. So, you know, a Fundica or someone like that would provide, I think that's a great resource for finding out all the grant opportunities and loan opportunities. It's a labyrinth. I think that's still a solution waiting to happen in the Canadian market is how do you get to all of those things? So again, on the urgency side, some of those opportunities may not be as immediate as an OnDeck would be. We're certainly not in the business of stacking or trying to do anything that would damage a company or inhibit our ability to get paid back by them. So all the assessment that we do, again, is making sure that this company is healthy and understands the transaction that they're going to enter into and what the ROI is on the loan. Thank you.